The first Monday in May. What's so special about that?
The Met Ball is the Super Bowl of social fashion events.
Yeah. For the rest of us, that Monday is just the start of another work week. But if you're an A-list celebrity, that Monday is the biggest party of the year where you can gallivant up the stairs in a designer gown. Oh, and did I mention it's all for charity? So you can feel good about yourself, like it's not this superficial event. You're doing everyone a service, you see, kind sir, by partying with other A-list celebrities. Apologies for that terrible accent. The Met Gala is actually a charity event for the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. But come on, guys. My listeners are not stupid. As if the Met actually needs the money. I swear celebrities are sometimes living in the Twilight Zone. I mean, think about it. They own the most expensive pieces of artwork in the entire world. They own Van Gogh. Apparently, that's how you say it. Don't laugh at me. I know. His painting, Self-Portrait with a Straw Hat, that is worth at least $150 million. They own this painting called Madonna and Child, which they purchased for $45 million. Their Costume Institute owns countless pieces of super rare and one-of-a-kind pieces of fashion history, like a gorgeous 1953 Spring Dior dress or the famous YSL color block dress of the 60s. They're literally rolling in it. And that's not even scratching the surface. Literally the surface. What you see on the illustrious walls of the Met isn't all that they have. They have vast quantities of very, very valuable art just sitting in storage. I guarantee if they sold a couple of ancient pots that were in storage, a couple of paintings, they would be set for 20 years. And still have more than enough artwork to go around and switch up the walls with whenever they wanted to. It's so interesting to me, the mental gymnastics people go through to justify things. Knowing this truth, it seems silly that the Met would have a disguised charity event for an institution that does not need it. What is even sillier, maybe even more infuriating, is that the Met now charges $25 for an adult ticket to visit when it used to be free. I mean, truly, guys, not like the seltzer drink, but truly, what kind of fuckery is this?
What kind of fuckery is this?
I know, Amy, I'm scratching my head too. Another problem I see with the Met is, well, maybe it's not fair. It's not just the Met. It's classism in general. Let me explain. If you look at pictures of the 2021 Met Gala, why is it that all the working staff, waiters, cameramen, press, etc., why are they all masked and the gallivanting celebrities are excluded from this rule? Whatever opinions you have about COVID or masking, set them aside and just focus on the little bit of hypocrisy of the elite. It seems to be the case that we allow the rich and the famous to have a different set of rules when going through the game of life, and nobody bats an eye. So this event was put on to raise money for the Met. Clearly, we've established that the Met does not need the money. We've also established that celebrities can also be oh so hypocritical. So why then is this one day so significant culturally and so significant for the fashion industry? If humans were rational, we'd point out the hypocrisy of the Met and get on with our Monday. But celebrities combined with luxury fashions, that seems to be an undeniable drug for people, admittedly myself included. I mean, you just heard me rant about everything that I hate about the Met, and the Met Gala for the past, 2 minutes or so. But despite all of that, I still tune in every single year to watch these celebrities gallivant up the stairs. All of this, I'm sort of setting up today's topic, and that is the invasion of celebrities into the fashion world. I think with digitization and information becoming democratized, we can no longer think of celebrities and traditional fashion people as separate entities. Let me explain. Fashion designers used to just be fashion designers. They were relegated to the fashion world, and that was it. They designed clothes, put on runway shows, and dusted their hands off at the end of the day. However, an interesting phenomenon has occurred where designers themselves have become celebrities in their own right. Michael Kors is a really good example. After he appeared as a guest on Project Runway,
Kind of looks like something you would see on the sale rack in an active department. Her activity looks like she's going to a buffet on a cruise. I mean, she could put cookies in her pockets. You want guys to leave you alone in the gym, wear that look. No one's talking to you.
I would say he was one of the better judges on Project Runway. And I think a lot of other people thought so too, because his own brand's recognition and sales shot way up. Successful designers nowadays have to have two personas, a designer persona as well as a celebrity one. I think just going to fashion school and learning how to create beautiful sketches, how to sew on the sewing machine, how to create tech packs isn't enough anymore. You have to have media training, and you have to be able to build up your own brand image, which, not gonna lie, that fucking sucks. Like, since when did being super creative and being able to make a fucking dress from a square piece of fabric like a wizard not become enough these days?
What kind of
You guys know the rest of that line. Seems to be the catchphrase of this episode. So that is the side of fashion designers becoming celebrities. But what about the other direction? Celebrities who become full-time designers. There are so many examples of celebrities doing a fragrance line here and there, a shoe line here and there, but rarely are these celebrities deeply involved in the design process. Justin Bieber had a fragrance line at Macy's back in the day. Kendall and Kylie had a line with PacSun, and so on and so forth. But do you think Kendall and Kylie actually designed those clothes? Do you think Justin Bieber was intimately involved in the perfume making process? Do you think Rihanna actually designs for Savage X Fenty? No, of course not. They still have their music career to focus on, their modeling influencer career. I'm actually not quite sure what the Jenners do as a main career, but the point being, this parlay into fashion or fragrance is a side hustle for them, albeit an extremely profitable side hustle. I'm not so much interested in those celebrities. What I find much more interesting are the celebrities that switched careers to become full-time designers, in particular, luxury designers. That's where the Olsen twins come in. You're listening to Dressher, the podcast about luxury fashion and the forces that influence it. Now, if you're confused about why I'm talking about the Olsen twins in a podcast about luxury fashion, your instincts are not wrong. Yes, I'm talking about the actresses you are thinking about right now. But I promise you, keep listening, the payoff is worth it. In part 1, I will be diving into who the Olsen twins are, what they stand for, and in part 2, I will be diving into their fashion brand. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen were the middle children of a mortgage banker and a former ballet dancer, now homemaker. Born in Sherman Oaks, California in 1986, The twins look similar, but are in fact fraternal. Despite the order in which people say their names, Ashley is the older one of the two. Their career started off almost immediately. When the twins were just 9 months old, they began filming for the ABC sitcom Full House. They share the character named Michelle Tanner. It's common for Hollywood to cast twins because of labor laws. You see, the younger you are, the less hours you're legally allowed to work. Michelle Tanner is a baby on the show, and babies were only allowed to work for 20 minutes at a time. With twins, directors could buy themselves 40 minutes. America saw them grow up on the show.
You can stay in your room. Stephanie moved out.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
And they filmed until the show's conclusion in 1995. Now, I personally have never watched Full House. In fact, I've never even heard of Full House until I was maybe a senior in high school. That show seemed like yet another piece of white American culture I was not exactly in touch with. But white America is strong, and more importantly, people listen to white America's opinions. People sympathize with their needs, and in the 90s, white America was American culture. Full House was aired internationally and was, after season 3, consistently in Nielsen's rankings of the top 30 shows watched by Americans. So a humongous fan base. The fan base was even popular enough to spawn many spin-off shows like Fuller House, which aired on Netflix in 2016. Mary-Kate and Ashley did not partake in the reboot, however. We'll get to those reasons later on. They earned what amounted to $4,000 per episode, which is pennies. Wanting to get more for their labor, their father hired a lawyer named Robert Thorne, who negotiated their salary to $25,000 per episode. Remember that name. He's kind of important later on. Now, Mary-Kate and Ashley appeared in 16 movies and many more TV shows. It would be impossible to go through them all, so I'm going to shed light on some of the most important. Their first debut playing separate characters was a movie made for television called To Grandmother's House We Go.
And then you snuck in the back of my truck, so I drive you to your great-grandma's house in Edgemont.
You forgot we put chicken legs in a hat.
Oh, right. Well, I'm guessing that your mom doesn't know anything about this.
No, we're giving her a vacation.
Well, she ought to be going nuts right about now, wondering where the hell you two went. Oh, yeah, well, the H word. Sorry.
Okay. You ready to order?
I'll have peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter on top, smooth but not crunchy, and cut off all the crust, please. I'll have the same but extra jelly, please.
When I say movies made for television, I mean TV movies. TV movies were cassette tapes that people would buy and play at their home instead of it getting released into theaters. The producer of Full House, Jeff Franklin, noticed how popular the twins were and wanted to try to get a standalone project going. Hence, To Grandmother's House We Go. And the project was a huge success. It demonstrated that the Olsen twins were profitable on their own outside of Full House. Oh, and the twins were just 5 years old when they filmed this movie. As if acting wasn't enough, that same year they released their very first album, Brother for Sale.
Hey, Ash, there's water dripping from the ceiling right into my cereal. It must be our brother. He's upstairs taking a bath. I told you we should have sold him.
So cute! The brother they were supposedly trying to sell is their older brother named Trent. They would go on to release 15 more albums after this. You might think this was corny as hell, and I do too, but we're not the target audience. It's children, and it truly amazes me what children find interesting. I mean, Peppa Pig, what the heck? Their music career really took off. It was around this time that the Olsens, well, actually, their parents created their own production company called Dual Star with Robert Thorne. Remember that dude who helped the Olsen twins negotiate a better payday at Full House? They named him Dual Star Entertainment's CEO. And with the creation of their production company, the Olsen sisters became the youngest producers in Hollywood history. There are many benefits of having your own production company. One obvious benefit is that the Olsen sisters never have to do another audition. No more rejection. They can just make whatever content they want to. They own the company after all. Another huge benefit is that anyone who wanted to work with the Olsen twins had to deal with Dual Star, which would always look out for their best interest. Hollywood is one of the snakiest industries, and having a huge company on your side helps a lot. You can tailor make movies or TV shows that fit your personality and distribute it how you want to. That's huge. Taxes are, of course, another huge benefit. For example, if the Olsen sisters wanted to buy a new car, they could do it with a tax write-off, thus saving them even more money. Yay! We love it when the rich get richer. There are many monetary benefits, and if you can do it, I guess you should. But psychologically speaking, with the creation of Dual Star, they are now a part of a machine. Allison Stoner, what an unfortunate last name. Another childhood actor explains what it's like.
Scene 2, Child Labor Laws. I am 12, and I am a machine. I'm currently contractually obligated to complete multiple overlapping projects. I'm president of a corporation with salaried family members and multi-vertical teams. Revenue models for billion-dollar media empires revolve around my peers and my faces, talents, and labor. While some companies stay within the legal range of working hours for minors, many do not. Regardless, set conditions are inappropriate and hazardous. Did you know that according to the U.S. Department of Labor, 17 states still don't have any regulations in place for child entertainment in 2021? Yet all 50 have working child performers. Adding to this, Zero Productions acknowledged that after their shoot, I will go to another, record an interview during my lunch break, train for multiple hours, skip dinner, and meet for a late-night rehearsal. After all, their responsibility is to deliver a product on time and in budget, not to babysit. Meanwhile, agents are encouraging me to look at early emancipation so I can work longer hours. This is going to increase my hireability. My body is medically undernourished and chronically stressed, which later will evolve into severe eating disorders, adrenal fatigue, and mandatory bed rest. The onset of puberty has turned my waist and bust into the main objects of attention and inspection. This will also categorize my career trajectory. I've learned that it is safer to dissociate in order to survive what my mind and body are subjected to daily. I'll be numb for another 5 years, but all you will ever see is the ever highly functioning, smiling girl number 437. By now, I've missed months of schooling, and my education is spotty at best. I'm socialized to be on at all times, ranging from a dozen daily fan encounters to grown reporters grilling me on my opinion of current events, for which I'm not an expert, to avoiding any and all authentic friendships to protect confidential information. I try not to have an inflated sense of self, but even my church puts me on a pedestal.
Allison is speaking in hypotheticals, but that exact scenario actually happened to her life. And it was the Olsen twins' lives as well. Let me illustrate. Simultaneously, while filming Full House, the twins were working on another project called The Adventures of Mary-Kate and Ashley, produced by, you guessed it, Dual Star. The 90s was a time before streaming, and cable television was becoming a big thing. The big money to be made was in take-home movies and home videos in the form of VHS tapes and then later on DVD sales. And take-home videos was precisely the strategy that Dual Star banked on. The Adventures of Mary-Kate and Ashley flew off of the shelves. Now, I was wondering how in the heck did these girls go to school? Well, the girls attended school on set, worked every single day of the week. I think the younger me would have been like, yes, I love people with a strong work ethic. Work 7 days a week if you can. Pull all-nighters if you have to get that bag. But that shit is so toxic. And lately I've been in the I don't dream of labor camp, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, the name can give you a bad perception of what the movement is, but just look it up. It's quite interesting and nuanced. But unfortunately for the Olsen twins, the I don't dream of labor movement didn't happen until like 2020-ish, so they worked, and they worked their tails off. While Mary-Kate was filming Full House, Ashley would be doing school. And while Ashley was filming Full House, Mary-Kate would be doing school. And on the weekend, they would go off to a new location and film The Adventures of Mary-Kate and Ashley, or go and record an album. A year after that project, a different project gets released called It Takes Two. Yes, I'm going to sound like a broken record. By the end of this, it was produced by Dual Star. The premise was that an orphan tom girl, Mary-Kate, meets a rich girly girl, Ashley, in a summer camp. And sort of Parent Trap style, they try to get Mary-Kate's caretaker to fall in love with Ashley's rich dad. This particular movie grossed $19 million at the box office, and even more in home video sales because, so I'm told, this movie was played at every single girl's slumber party in America. That same year, Full House finished filming the very last season. So in just a couple of minutes, we ran through the whirlwind that was Mary-Kate and Ashley's childhood. They released so many projects and made so much money for themselves and their entertainment company. At the age of 10, the Olsens were America's youngest millionaires, whose wealth was not, of course, inherited. Their media empire was really catching its stride. I mean, they were kicking ass and taking some serious names.
What exactly is it that they do?
Kick names, take ass.
Yeah, that's right.
I think what made their fans so fervent is that they literally grew up alongside the Olsens. They probably saw a lot of themselves in the twins. With each subsequent album drop, movie, or TV series, their fans supported them along the way. As their career was going up and up, a huge event happened in their personal lives. Their parents were going through a divorce. Not much has been reported about how the Olsen twins felt about the divorce. The only source I could find was an article published by Star Magazine in April of 1996. Not sure how reputable that source is, so take what I'm saying next with a grain of salt. Mary-Kate was more of a daddy's girl, and Ashley was closer to their mother. During the divorce settlement, there were talks about splitting up the girls. Mom would take Ashley and Dad Mary-Kate. I'm not sure how long their parents were in talks of divorce, but that same year the divorce was finalized. Their father remarried. I assume the marriage was donezo for a while before the divorce actually happened. At their father's wedding, Mary-Kate was the only one who attended. Allegedly, Ashley stayed home with her mom. Eventually, their father had 2 more kids with his new wife. I can only speculate how this made the Olsen twins feel. How would it make you feel? And then tie money and their rising stardom into that equation. That will give you a pretty good answer. If you're of my generation, you probably heard of the Olsen twins, but aren't really aware of how big they truly were. They didn't just do a couple of hit movies and sell a couple of hit songs. These girls were a global brand, as recognizable as Nike. Their next big business move was in licensing. Fashion brands do this all the time. For example, if Calvin Klein wanted to make a fragrance, they would license their brand name to a perfumery. Or if Comme des Garçons wanted to come up with a makeup line for some reason, they would license their brand name to a L'Oreal or a Estee Lauder, and then boom, they would have a new makeup line. In fact, eyewear and cosmetics are the most common product categories to be licensed. But as we've sort of found out from previous episodes, the fashion industry is greedy. And they won't just stop at cosmetics and eyewear, trust me. The world of licensing is super fascinating to me. And I think eventually I will do a whole dedicated episode about it. But here's how it relates to the Olsen girls. Those very brief examples I gave earlier are for big box brands. But what about licensing the likeness and image of a person? At that time, the biggest licensing empire of a person was probably Martha Stewart. She started off her licensing empire with a direct-to-retail model with Kmart. She went on to build an empire of licensing her name to stick onto cookware, pet stuff, clothing, gardening stuff, even freaking CBD gummies. Basically, any lifestyle trend you can think of, Martha Stewart has had her name on it at some point or another. I think the genius of licensing is that even if the licensee never turns a profit, they would still be obligated to pay the licensor money every month just to use their name. So that's just straight cash in her pocket without lifting a finger. Robert Thorne definitely had dollar signs in his eyeballs and wanted to do the exact same thing for the Olsen twins. So let the licensing games begin. In 1988, they had a book deal with Scholastic. In 1999, the girls had a toy deal with Mattel to create twin dolls. They had a furniture deal, a jewelry deal, makeup, hair, nails. Oh my goodness, I could really go on and on and on, but the music has stopped. And finally, one of the most important bits for our story, a behemoth clothing deal with Walmart. In 2004, the twins launched a fashion line for girls aged 4 to 14 that sold exclusively at Walmart. This deal was massive.
I like $1 million deals. Where's my pen? Bitch, I'm signing.
The thing about Walmart is that they are huge. They had around 5,000 stores across the US in 2004. The Walton family, who owns Walmart, are one of the most powerful families in the entire world. Walmart employs about 1% of the entire population of the USA. You could throw a rock anywhere in the US and it would land on a Walmart. I mean, these statistics are bananas, especially the last one. I mean, who thought of that? That must have been genius. So you can see where I'm going with this. Their collection sold extraordinarily well, somewhere in the 400 millions. And just think about it. Try to wrap your mind around that figure. These clothes were cheap. Just try and picture how many tops they would have to sell to get to 400 million. A fuck ton, I'll tell you. I mean, it had to have been a total feeding frenzy at the local Walmart when the Olsen twins dropped a collection. Forget Kanye West. Forget Virgil Abloh. The Olsen twins are here to sell their Teen Bop collection, and they're dropping 400 million like it's nothing. Speaking on the clothing themselves, even though they were cheap, they did put on a rather ritzy fashion show in Paris. Pictures on my website. I also want to note that this deal with Walmart happened a little later in our timeline, but it's a licensing deal, so I wanted to include it here. With that piece of the story out of the way, I want to hop back a little bit. 3 years, back to 2001 for a bit, and talk about the controversial movie they did, Holiday in the Sun. It has long been known that Hollywood is kind of a pedophile cesspool, so trigger warning. The movie starred the girls, who were 14 at the time of its filming. Ashley had a romantic interest who was, 22. And yes, at the core of this movie is romance, which is really disgusting. But unfortunately, it's not uncommon at all. Young actresses are forced to make out with much older guys because it's a part of their job. Here's Evan Rachel Wood explaining what her experience was like being a teenage actor in Hollywood. For some context, she rose to fame when she starred in the hit movie titled 13.
I grew up with this mentality that it was your job to keep going even when you felt uncomfortable. Even 13, I had to make out with a 23-year-old when I was 14 in front of a room full of people. And I remember not wanting to do it. But I knew that the character needed to, and so it didn't matter what Evan wanted. It just had to be done. And that set a tone for not good situations as an adult.
So you can sort of picture the internal conflict going on. Being forced to do things maybe that felt uncomfortable to you, but then knowing that you were the face of Dual Star, a multi-million-dollar corporation, as well as the face of all of your franchises. Fame is nice in theory, but honestly, fame kills. And to add on to that idea, the Olsen twins didn't just have to fend for themselves at the workplace. The pedophile vibes were also very much present in the real world. I'm telling you, the world had such a disgusting little fascination with the Olsen twins and their sexuality. There were websites dedicated to counting down the days to when the Olsen twins turned 18. Their own publicists even stated, quote, "They're a fantasy if you're a 6-year-old girl, and perhaps they're a fantasy if you're a 50-year-old man." That is the magical thing about them, is that they seem to span a broad range of demographics. Goodness gracious, that doesn't sound like their publicist is on their side at all. To tie all these ideas together, if your own publicist, your manager, and even your own company do not have your well-being or your mental health or your best interests at heart, and they only care about how your image is profitable to them, then how can you trust anybody? Speaking of money, that same year, the girls launched their own magazine with Dual Star. And wow, the empire grows once again. Just so that we can get a sense of where we're at in the timeline, the girls are now firmly planted in their high school years. You would think with their busy schedule, the girls would opt to be homeschooled, but no. Instead, they were able to attend a school called Campbell Hall, which is a private school in Los Angeles. I recently checked up on the tuition costs, and today, as of this reading, in 2022, they are, and don't faint, for grades 7 through 11, it's $41,895, and for grade 12, just so they could squeeze out every last penny from you before you leave them, it's about $1,000 more at $42,525 a year. But of course, I guess if you're a multimillionaire, that's pennies. I think despite everything, the twins were relatively happy there. They got to go to prom their freshman, sophomore, and junior years. Mary-Kate was also on the equestrian team. They also did normal high school things like prep for the SAT and had dreams of getting into college. I'm sure the school had a very flexible attendance policy because the girls were also working at the same time. Campbell Hall has some other notable working children, like later on, the Fanning girls. What wasn't so normal about their high school experience, however, was the constant I mean, constant barrage of paparazzi and the tabloids. It was around this time where people were, in honestly a very mean and triggering way, talking about Mary-Kate Olsen's eating disorder. One of the most infuriating instances was when the girls made an appearance on the Oprah show.
And so that means if you're 5'1", then you're 5'2".
Yeah, except for I'm not 5'2". No, yeah. And I don't even think I'm 5'1", so.
Okay. I know there's a new rumor that's recently surfaced. Has really upset you, right? You know, the one about eating.
Yeah, people are going to write what they want to write. We try not to read the good or the bad because it just kind of comes with the territory. Either you're too fat, you're too skinny, and people are just going to write what they
What size are you, by the way?
Size?
Yeah, I always like to know.
I'm really sure.
You're not sure?
Girls, and
that's so interesting. That is so interesting. I'm like obsessed with size, and you're like, I really don't know.
Well, if we were obsessed with our size, it'd be, I don't know, a different story. We always get things taken in anyways because we're so small, we can't fit into anything. Yeah. Or the pants are always way too long. So we always have to get things taken.
So that little pea in the store, like the other day, I was in Bergdorf's and I picked up a little thing and had a little pea in it. I went, okay, is anybody dating you want to tell me about? Oh, that would be for people like yourself.
I've been dating for a long time.
A really stupid line of questioning. Let's just keep it positive and say that the way we treat women has come a really, really long way since 2004. And thank God for that. 2004 was a year of transition for the Olsen twins. This was the year that they graduated from high school. 2004 was also the year that their very last movie was released, A New York Minute.
No ticket, no ride.
No, I have a ticket. Just give me a minute.
Okay, let's see it. Come on, let's see it.
That was my twin sister you just threw off right there.
Serendipitously, they were also awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Even though at this point, technically, the twins were retiring from show business, it's a nice display of everything they were able to accomplish. 2004 also marked the year that the girls took over as presidents of Dual Star. They bought out the CEO, Robert Thorne, for a very, very generous sum, and finally they had control over their own money. Before they were 18, their father was controlling their finances. I'm not even sure if the twins knew how rich they really were. The company was reportedly grossing $1 billion of revenue each year. And with money like that, they were 1,000% bankrolling their entire family, as well as Robert Thorne, who was just at the right place at the right time. Let's be honest here. Despite literally having 3 commas behind your name, I think the Olsen twins had a great relationship with their family, especially with their 2 full siblings. But legally speaking, before they turned 18, they did not have any control over their own money. Even though the Olsens decided to get out of the entertainment business, Dual Star was still signing on new entertainers, one of which were the infamous Sprouse twins.
We've got a sweet life.
And we all know how big their 2 Disney Channel shows were. Eventually, the twins stuck together and attended NYU in 2004. Their experience there was very chaotic and brief. While at NYU, the girls were, once again, followed by the paparazzi and accused of many things, one of which was having a drug issue. Mary-Kate still had her eating disorder hanging over her, but it also seemed like they were able to live a little and just be normal college. Okay, no, that's a fucking lie. There's nothing normal about the Olsen twins. They were able to be wealthy college students who didn't have to work at least. At least there was that silver lining for them. In college, they had the chance to do what they wanted. They dated, albeit very famous people. They went out, albeit to some of the most expensive and exclusive clubs in New York City, and also the fucking Met Gala. They lived near campus, albeit in a $7 million penthouse. But along with all these perks of being rich and famous, there's a lot of downsides, especially if you're just trying to learn, trying to have fun without other students snitching on you to the tabloids, without being constantly put down by the news and the media. I'm happy that they could at least have some fun times away from the studio or the film set for once in their life. Eventually, though, the buzz around them became too overwhelming and they dropped out of college. Mary-Kate after only a year and a half, and Ashley after 2 years and a half. So with that, this marked the end of their career in the limelight and in show business altogether. Thank you for listening. Every episode is written and produced by me, Michelle Chang. Every episode has a companion blog post on my website, dresserpodcast.com. Find all the books, movies, and articles I used to research this episode there. Take a look. If you made it this far, I would be so appreciative if you could share this episode with one friend. Maybe make it an Instagram story, make a TikTok using my audio, however you see fit. Next time, we'll take a look at the Olsen twins' fashion line in part 2. Now, on to my fashion trimmings. This doesn't really fit into the timeline of this episode, but it relates to the hook. So I thought I'd include it here in our fashion trimmings. The Olsen sisters have attended the Met many times. The year I want to take a look back on is 2009. That year, the theme was Model as Muse, embodying fashion, all about inspiring female supermodels. A little side note here, I think the fashion industry, and in particular, the luxury fashion realm, they have this specific image of a woman that inspires their brand. She's tall, thin, and young. And because the Met chose to have their entire theme surrounding the idea of a supermodel, I think it speaks volumes about where the fashion industry was at in 2009. Ashley Olsen wore a dress by their future brand, more on that in part 2, to the Met. It was a long white dress with a V shape in the back. Honestly, nothing really that special about the dress. I would even go as far as to say I dislike it, but I think this was a seminal moment for their brand. So how does one even get invited to the Met? Well, you can do it in one of 3 ways. In order to get an invitation to the Met, you have to be either associated with a fashion house that donates a lot of money, somewhere to the tune of $75 to $250,000. That fashion house will then pick someone to dress and attend the Met. The second way you can attend the Met is if you are an IT celebrity. Anna Wintour and her team choose a guest list each year consisting of who they deem worthy of an invitation, and those people are usually IT celebrities. And the last way to get an invitation is to be dating an IT celebrity. Famously, Kim K's first appearance at the Met was as Kanye's date. Interestingly, Ashley Olsen is both an IT celebrity as well as a designer, showcasing her dress at the biggest fashion event of the year. As much as I like to shit on the Met Gala, is still a really great accomplishment. Her sister attended the Met that year wearing a vintage dress by Christian Lacroix. In fact, almost every year the girls attended the Met, they did so wearing vintage. Not the kind of Goodwill or thread-up vintage that you and I are used to, but vintage Chanel, vintage Dior, fancy brands, back when they made things that were truly crafted by artisans. A kind of rare occurrence at an event like the Met. I think blogs and magazines try to make this out to be such a brave risk, but vintage or newly custom designed, it's all high-end at the end of the day. It would be brave if they showed up in a dress from freaking Zara or some similar brand, not a vintage Chanel dress. Come on. Now, on the topic of fame itself, it's It's super rare for child stars to clinch onto their fame and success. A huge portion of a child star's success is about having the right look or the right demeanor. One of the biggest reasons why the Olsen twins were cast on Full House was because they were generally unfussy babies. If only that could have been a job requirement for adults too, eh? I say, with really no amount of venom in my voice, that most child actors aren't talented. Most children who act aren't particularly realistic with it, with a few exceptions. I'm thinking about Natalie Portman in Leon the Professional.
The second goes higher on the chest. Aim for the heart and lungs. There, right there. You see, the first shot takes him out of order. The second finishes him. Never in the face. If they can recognize the client, you don't get paid. Because you could take out anybody and said you did the job. Got it?
Good. Never in the face.
This movie is highly appealing for any age group except for children. It's kind of amazing that Natalie was able to do that. Most child stars make content for children, and once they grow up, they tend to lose their appeal because they get ugly, couldn't act in the first place, or unfortunately, burn out. We see it all the time. Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan, Macaulay Culkin, and I could go on and on. Instead of tearing these people down, we should be examining why there are so many fallen child stars. To me, the answer is simple. Fame kills. It's super stressful, and the stress takes literal years off of your life. Children in particular, who are products of their environment, have an especially hard time with fame. We saw these difficulties manifest in Mary-Kate's eating disorder. I'm sure their parents' divorce had to do with money generated by both their daughters' fame. Knowing that, it kind of makes you rethink whether or not you want to be famous. At the end of the day, I think, well, at least I hope, Mary-Kate and Ashley made it out of the entertainment machine all right. If they had stayed, who knows where they'd be today. I think the greatest escape artist isn't Houdini, but Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. They understand the art of pivoting and, most importantly, how to disappear.